I'm Sarah Borkson-Keto, and in conjunction with Reits 2021, I'm speaking today with Karen Garnett, partner at Proskauer. Karen, thanks so much for joining me.
Yes, thanks, Sarah. Very happy to be here and really looking forward to our chat.
What are some of the possible changes that could impact Reits as a result of new SEC leadership?
Right. So as you probably know, President Biden has nominated Gary Gensler to be the new chair of the SEC. I think under Gensler, we'll see a different kind of approach and I think likely to be more regulatory. I would expect to see an uptick in enforcement activity that would be certainly consistent with his leadership at the CFTC. So we'll see what happens there. I think his rulemaking priorities will lean toward greater and not less disclosure by public companies. He may also focus on improvements to the proxy voting process in a way that's different from the prior chair. And on the operational side of things, I think we could start to see kind of heightened scrutiny of public company filings from the disclosure review program, possibly more comment letters from the staff or more targeted reviews on the issues that are most important to the chair.
Are you expecting to see the SEC take a more active role on climate change disclosures and DEI matters?
No question. I think that is absolutely something that everyone is expecting, and really it's already happening at the SEC. A number of examples of things just over the last month or so. The SEC has a new senior policy advisor for climate and ESG. That is a newly created role that reports directly to the acting chair of the SEC, and I think that role will continue most certainly under Chairman Gensler when he is in place. So I think that appointment really highlights the focus on ESG generally and climate and DEI being a big part of that. On the climate front, the acting chair has directed the Division of Corporation Finance to enhance its focus on climate-related disclosures in public company filings. So not clear if that will result in more comments on climate disclosure or just greater scrutiny, but certainly they are going to be taking a look at that in earnest, likely looking not just in the filings, but at corporate sustainability reports and other statements that companies are making outside of their SEC filings. The Division of Enforcement has a newly formed task force on climate and ESG. It's intended to identify ESG-related misconduct, so that will be interesting to follow. And on the examination side of things, the 2021 priorities for the examination staff include an enhanced focus on ESG-related risks. On the rulemaking front, the acting director of corporation finance has said publicly that the SEC can and should play a leading role in the development of a framework for ESG disclosure, and not just for domestic US companies, but potentially a global framework as well. So that's quite an ambitious statement, but certainly one that is worth following, and I think we'll certainly see some activity in that area. It's not clear how any of these initiatives will take shape in practice, or even how quickly. I think the global initiative to develop an ESG disclosure framework is certainly something you would expect to be a more long-term initiative, but some of these other things could happen quite a bit more quickly. So it's an area that we will all be following, I'm sure. And I think with respect to climate, it will be front and center. I think DEI will be close behind that, and some areas there that the commission might focus on would be more prescriptive disclosure requirements related to board diversity as well as workforce diversity.
Do you anticipate an uptick in REIT interest in SPACs?
Well, there certainly is a lot of activity in the SPAC market. Just a tremendous amount, both on the IPO side and on the acquisition side of things. I think the amount of capital raised in SPAC IPOs since the beginning of 2021 is already approaching the total amount raised in 2020. So it is a very active market with a lot of money pouring into the market. So it's hard not to pay attention to what's going on with SPACs. I think for REITs, there's also potential on both sides of those transactions. We've seen a few REIT sponsors that have sponsored SPACs. On the acquisition side of things, it's certainly possible that a private REIT might view a SPAC merger as an attractive way to go public. We haven't seen that yet, but I think it's certainly something that private REITs may be thinking about. On that note, though, I will just point out that SPAC targets have so far tended to be very high growth oriented companies, and generally with a tech component, not always, but it's been very common. So electric vehicle companies, for instance, I think have been the most common type of target for SPAC mergers. Biotech has also been a very popular type of company for SPAC mergers as well. And kind of related to REITs, we've seen some SPAC mergers with prop tech companies, so real estate related targets, but not necessarily a REIT.
Karen, thanks so much for your time.
Glad to be here.
And for more from REITwise, be sure to visit NAREIT's website, reit.com.